So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll, Lord knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil finds his groove in them rhythm and blues that sound. It's gonna get you sun in the air.
Welcome back to the Speakeasy. I'm Damon Bolte.
I'm Souther Teague.
And I'm Greg Benson. And Damon, you're back, man. You're the traveling man, but you got some more travel ahead of you, right?
Yeah, I'll be in New York this weekend and upstate for the week, and then back in Brooklyn the following weekend for Grand Army's 10-year anniversary party on Sunday, May 4th.
Happy birthday, Grand Army.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, really psyched. It's in a world.
Yeah.
Since it is May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day, we can start it off like a movie trailer. But in a world where bars constantly come and go,
yeah.
Army.
I mean, 10 years is no small feat. I don't think anywhere in the country, but certainly in New York, it's a heavy, heavy milestone. I'm excited that Grand Army's still there and still plugging along. I pass by it every day on my way to Gus's. It's on my route, and every time I whiz by, I give it a little wave as I go by. I'm just happy to know that it's always there.
Yeah, and it's gone through it's having a different themed menu is one thing, every season or every 6 months. And that's been really fun. And we've gotten a lot of attention for that. And there's that, but also just like looking back on the staff that's come through there and like, in like the kind of phases of staff and, and right now it's like, just as always, it's kick-ass staff, really cool. Like we started with, a lot of the kind of like previous old guard New York bartenders, mixologists, and that was a really awesome way to start out. But it's been cool to see some of the like newer up and coming people there, now and over the past few years. So, and I really feel like it's cultivated a lot of that. And just seeing like, every time I get to be back in New York and seeing like some of the regular clientele that's been there since day one and, meeting some of the new people, because, New York is a place of transient, it really is. And if you're not like a native New Yorker, it's like, you probably come to New York and you do your thing for a while and you find your New York self and you maybe pick up another skill or two or an interest. And then you maybe take it down the road and reward yourself with a slower pace.
Yeah.
Or, you go upstate and you open up a beautiful restaurant or just a chill bar. Like, I'm going to be visiting the Junction in Roscoe. I worked with Aaron Blakely at Extra Fancy, one of the wildest industry bars. And now he's got like the neighborhood fishing bar, like in a small town upstate. And then, stuff like that, So I'm excited for Green Army and I'm thankful for the staff that we've had and the friends that I've made there. And, it's just a great little bar that keeps going. It's fun and weird and wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to fluff you up too much on the air, but it's your birthday. It's Grand Army's birthday, so I'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like one thing I've always loved consistently about going in there is I've never gotten anyone working there who's in a bad mood. No one's ever like been too cool for school or has done the like.
Yeah, because I don't bartend there anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like it's like don't become this, learn from my mistakes. But no, like I don't know, like I've definitely we've all been that place where like, you just kind of show up and you're just like, oh God, another day of this. All right. First person comes in is like, what the fuck do you want?
Right.
Everyone there just always seems like just jazzed to be there, man. And like enthused about the drinks and the space and the people that are there. And it's just always a good time. I always recommend it to anyone who's looking for a place to drink without reservation. And congrats on 10 years.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
to answer a little bit the question you didn't ask, I think the reason why
all the allegations are false.
Yeah, the reason why the staff is so happy to be there and having fun is because we let them do whatever they want. Basically, we just like it's a place where you can go and just be like, all right, you know what I want to do? I want to do like this weird milk punch, and I want to do this themed menu where it's like robot themed or cat themed or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, do it. It's like we've never said no.
Right. It's trust and autonomy in the staff, which then gives them confidence. Yeah.
And then it gives them the experience to climb the ladder and eventually open their own spot, and that's happened a lot. So yeah, thank you very much. And
yeah, of course. So, I do love the phenomenon. I was remarking with because I was in Tucson recently, and I was talking with Rob Easter, who runs Workhorse and Modern Ancient Distilling down there, and we were talking about how there's this this phenomenon where people will go to like a major city and they'll kind of cut their teeth on it, like really like work at a bar like that, gain some experience, gain both behind the bar and in life. And then they kind of take that to like the next less crazy city down the road. So like I have so many friends who were in DC for a while who are in Richmond now. Like I have so many friends who are in the Twin Cities who are in Duluth. I have so many, I was noticing the same thing. I was marking on this because I was in Tucson, which seems to be both that for Phoenix and even a little bit for LA. And Rob asked me, he's like, so what's that place for New York? And I was like, don't tell them, but I think it's Philadelphia. Like it's either upstate in like the Hudson Valley somewhere, or it's Philly. Like that's where you go to kind of like not retire, but like just kind of have that more
pump the brakes a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Pump the brakes, have an easygoing pace of life.
Sure. Be a bigger fish in a smaller pond, etc.
Exactly.
Take the thing to the masses instead of going to where the masses are.
Right.
Precisely.
Exactly.
Yeah. And speaking of people who take things to the masses and are in chill locations, joining us live from one of my favorite cities, definitely not what I would describe as a chill place, but definitely a cool place, Mexico City. We have George Koutsakis. Oh, damn it. I rehearsed this like 5 times before we came in here and I fucked it up on air.
Koutsakis.
Oh, well.
Koutsakis.
Thank you. We got George. George from Barrel Global is here talking to us. George, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah, I noticed a pretty thick Spanish accent you've got there right away.
Yeah. I've been working on it.
So your
Spanish isn't bad. For 2 years here, it's pretty decent.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say.
Your last name belies your home origin, and then you live in Mexico City. So we got a lot of international stuff happening here. A Greek last name, you have a Scottish accent, and you're living in Mexico City. Talk to us a little bit about just initially yourself and how you landed in Mexico City.
Well, I mean, the start of the story is pretty simple. My mom's Scottish, went on holiday to Greece, and my dad took her to play tennis, and that was he bought her some tennis shoes, and that's how that happened. But yeah, I was born on an island of Crete, the island of Crete, kind of the biggest island in Greece. Grew up there. University in Scotland. Sorry, I know you didn't ask me for the full story, but I'll just go through all the points.
No, do it. Yeah.
Studied in Scotland, which kind of got me started in whiskey. Then I moved to Japan. So I was managing a Brewdog bar. Brewdog's like a Scottish craft brewery. So I was
Wait, yeah. Which Brewdog bar?
In Roppongi in Tokyo.
Oh, okay. Because I was a manager at the Brewdog bar in Glasgow. Did you ever go to that one?
Yeah, that's where my buddy used to work. Like Sam Corden used to work there.
Whoa. Okay. All right. We got a lot to talk about. I didn't know you know Sam. That's wild.
Yeah, man, I used to work with Sam for years, and like when I was in university, we used to work, and he used to manage like the Holiday Inn bar that I used to work at.
So his do you know his brother Matt?
Yeah. He's the head of like this brewery there. I forget which one, like Drygate or something.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I worked with Matt like in 2011 at the Brewdog bar.
They're cool. They're cool dudes. Yeah, they look very much alike.
Yeah, it's a small Scottish world after all, baby. Okay, I'm sorry, we have to go down this tangent. Did Sam or Matt ever tell you the story about their poker night at Edinburgh Castle? Did you ever hear about this?
I don't think so. No.
So this was when Brewdog Glasgow was like criminally understaffed. Like everyone was working like 60-hour weeks, like 6 days a week. Matt hit me up. He's like, hey man, he's like, is there any chance you can work? I think it was like a Saturday or something. He's like, is there any chance you could, he's like, I know it's your only day off, but I got invited to play poker at Edinburgh Castle and I really want to go. And I was like, I can't say no to this, because apparently, like, I think it was one of Sam's buddies was like stationed there because it is an active military base, and they just had a poker night, and they got a pizza delivered to Edinburgh Castle.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Apparently the pizza guy, when they were like, okay, where's this going? They're like, to the castle, like Edinburgh Castle. The pizza guy, there was a pause. He's like, I'm going to need you to pay for this in advance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway,
he actually helped me. Sam helped me get the job in Tokyo. Actually, I think he was working there, and he connected me to the people that kind of had the franchise in Tokyo and helped me get it.
Wow. I will say this about Brewdog, man. Like, they are the textbook definition for having lived long enough to see yourself become the villain. But like, they were a pretty fucking cool company to work for, at least back when I was with them.
Yeah, back at the start, the labels and everything was just pretty badass. They were doing cool things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, so I was working there. The importer of Brewdog, they were importing a lot of Scotch whiskeys and doing a lot in Japanese whiskey. So I kind of got into Japanese whiskey quite a lot. Realized I want to be a writer. Left Japan, moved back with my parents, started writing for like Upwork and silly little articles. But then I got offered a job with Decanta.com. They're an online Japanese whiskey seller. Started writing their blog, started writing more blogs, started in distiller.com, kept going and going. I started writing for Forbes after that, wrote a few things for like Financial Times, New York Times, just all about alcohol, a lot about Japanese whiskey back then. Moved back to Asia, started doing whiskey auctions in Hong Kong for an auction house there. That was when like the Chinese were buying a lot. Whilst doing my writing and consulting for a few brands. And yeah, I kind of just got tired of I was selling a lot of Scotch whiskey casks back then, to like really rich Chinese, like 30-year-old Macallans and stuff like that. But I kind of was feeling the itch from writing all that time to do something that kind of didn't really exist in the alcohol industry. And I kind of wanted to take the elegance of Japanese blended whiskey and do it in Scotch. Because, I mean, there's good blended Scotches, but those brands also make like not so good blended Scotches. There's like, Johnny Walker can do amazing stuff, but there's also some that are, all right. So I wanted to make a brand that was fully focused on premium blended Scotch whiskey. And that's how I started Coach Belt Whiskey with Jensen Button. He's like a Formula One champion. He wanted to get into whiskey, and we kind of drew a connection there between premium blended Scotch whiskey, all the components that come together to make, a great blend is all the components that come together to make a really good coach built car, like the art of coach building that Jensen owns, like a coach building company. So got going with that. That was like a really fun project that we've still got ongoing. And then Barrel Global came around. Yeah, I guess I can talk a little bit about that. I just don't want to monologue for too long.
No, please.
This is what the radio is for.
Exactly. And Barrel Global is kind of the thing that, like, it's it's the thing that you don't see much of these days. Well, maybe we're about to see more of it. But before I tip too much of our hand here, tell us a little bit about what you're doing there.
Yeah, so honestly, Barrel Global started from me seeing that. I don't think I can swear on here, but just things.
Oh, sure, you can.
Yeah, so shit was about to hit the fan in Scotch whiskey, which now we're seeing as like, there's BBC series out. And back then I was just seeing all these brokers in Hong Kong and across just selling Macallan and Old Cask for astronomical prices, like adding like doubling up, just adding crazy margins. There was smoke and mirrors. There was no visibility. The kind of HMRC in Scotland, just the legalities around cask brokering was just it was shady. And there was so many like snake oil salesmen coming in, didn't have a reputation in the alcohol industry, sold a bunch of casks, disappear. And then down the line, the client goes to the distillery. They're like, hey, I've got this cask from your distillery. Distillery's like, we've no idea what this is. And I could just see it was going to go bad. So I kind of saw in the US that didn't really exist. And since everything's more contractual and a bit more direct with the distilleries in the US, I saw a really good opportunity in doing something like that and starting off without making all the mistakes that all these brokering companies had done. So we started Barrel Global, never mention investment. We don't mention returns. Like I'm afraid of that and I don't want to promise any of that. Sure, you can buy a cask, same as you can buy a rare bottle, hold it and try resell it in a few years, let it mature, let the cask mature. But we don't promise you're going to make this much or 12% or that crazy number remember that number that Diageo's, their range of bottles had this percentage that grows every year. And then people just use that across the board for every kind of Scotch brand and everything. I think it was like 16% or something. It was the cask of distinction, I think. And it was just everybody would use that figure. So we started out only working with like really cool small distilleries that are working on their own brand. So we don't work with any contract distillers. Small distilleries, we want to have like a map across the whole US and try and work with as many states as we possibly can. So that down the line, if our clients want to resell or bottle or sell to other businesses, there's a better variety there. But yeah, Barrel Global just was born from just a lot of mistakes that I saw being made in the Scotch cask industry that I just didn't want to do with Barrel Global. And obviously some investment companies have came in to the barrel industry in the US that promise returns and do all that. That's just not what we're about. We try, as I said, we create partnerships with these small distilleries. We buy a batch of barrels of new fill, usually from them. We really push for them letting us go and shoot there and really speak to the people at the distillery, create some really cool video of what they've done, what they're doing. We don't want white label stuff. We want people to become fans of these distilleries. So, the likes of we buy from Still Austin, Kings County Distillery, Law's Whiskey House. We're speaking to Free Ranch now, but they've never really done barrels before, so we're working on it. We do bigger ones like Green River, Bardstown, speaking of Wilderness Trail now, but it's, again, all distilleries that have their own brands and work on their own brands and that people can really get behind. It's not these Goliath kind of monster contract distillers that are coming online. And yeah, what we do is we go do the shoots, we speak to the people. We like to do social media stuff together. We like to put out press releases. And then, yeah, we run our ads. We have our sales team. We sell the barrels. And we do a healthy kind of, I'd say, mix of like 70% new fill and 30% age, because we do have a lot of people that bottle their barrels, which is something we're really, really developing and pushing into now. Because, I promised people exit strategies if they want to resell their barrel a few years ago. And now is when we need to kind of, deliver on that. And I'm heavily this year pushing to supply as many businesses as we can in the US with barrels, because the likes of Bardstown, Green River, you can go buy like 500 barrels, 300 barrels. It's a high MOQ. What we've done over the last few years is try to map out the entire US in terms of logistics and the 3-tier system to be able to supply people with liquid, bottle design, label design, cola approval, licensing, packaging, and logistics to your door. A lot of that's for gifting, so it's easier to get it through 42 states if you're, that's for personal consumption or gifting, but we're also actively figuring out each state in terms of people that also want to resell it so that we can supply like casinos and real estate agencies and marinas and hotels and restaurants that want to, bottle their own label and do whatever, Four Seasons bourbon or, Oak Lawn bourbon or Mohegan Sun bourbon, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, sort of what percentage of your business is those folks that want to rebottle and resell it versus people who view it as an investment versus people who just want to, don't give us your clientele list, but say there was someone on your clientele list named Boren Wuffet, for example, like someone who just wants to like own a barrel to own it. And maybe it's an investment, maybe they'll resell it, maybe they'll drink it. They don't know. No. But like what's the breakdown there of like people who are going to go on to resell versus people who just are that they're the final destination for that barrel?
I would say 70-30. 30 for people that are, 70 that people aren't sure and they want to hold on to it, and 30 people that want to bottle it. But yeah, it's basically Barrel Global's been around for like 2.5 years now. And I think the first year of the business was more just selling new fills, figuring out all the logistics around bottling. Now we have all that infrastructure very well oiled and easy. So the way that's kind of worked is I've always wanted to make it an experience. So I've wanted someone in Kentucky that can take clients there, have a really nice experience. They can view their cask, taste their cask, and then this person looks after bottling. And luckily, I hired this kid in Kentucky. He's actually a descendant of E.H. Taylor, like direct. It's his great grandfather.
Cool.
And the guy's like an encyclopedia of bourbon, 27, really, really passionate. And he looks after all our bottling. He used to be like a tour guide at Castle and Key for years because, that was E.H. Taylor and he was trying to learn more. I think he's writing like a book about E.H. Taylor's life because his grandmother would give him all these stories and he has all these secret recipes and stuff. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's been a big part for the experiential side of the business for people. Like if you go on our reviews, like on Trustpilot, it's the recent ones that makes me really happy is people that have bottled and have been super happy with it. That's what we want. Like, I mean, it's fine if someone says, "Hey, I bought a barrel and it was fine," but if we can go through that entire process and make it super easy for people to have their own label, get all the licenses done, and have it delivered to their door, you know, in the time frame that we said, that's always been a big goal, and that's where we are now, which I'm super happy about.
So I want to sort of ask about that experiential side of it, because this is something that I've sort of been noticing in a lot of industries, particularly like consumer industries and experience forward industries. Like I went to a talk about, because I do some writing for, you know, for beverage and food journalism, but also like some travel journalism, because those two, there's a healthy amount of overlap there these days.
Yeah.
And I've been noticing more and more that the market for just writing about like, you know, here's a cheap place where like you can take the family and still have a good time, or like, you know, like budget getaway for the weekend. Like there is less of a market for that. Whereas the market for, you know, 5-star mega luxury, like all expenses spa on site, like that, the experiential 5-star sort of more for the 1% stuff seems to be where the money's going. And that makes sense if you sort of look at, you know, what's been happening to median wages for the middle class versus the average wealth accumulated by the wealthiest people in the country and the planet. And I guess I wanted to get your take on that, because that sounds like this is what you're doing, the people that you're selling these 70% of barrels to, it seems like it's very much of that set. And I just sort of wanted to level set with you what your sort of experience is interacting with that bit where, you know, this industry that we love intersects with some of the more unsavory facts of capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one thing I've always wanted to do is the entry point into Barrel Global is a barrel. So I never wanted to have those like 12, 24 barrel minimums that a lot of the others have. But nonetheless, that's like a, you know, $2,500 entry point if you're buying a barrel. So yeah, I mean, that is obviously, we have some people that share barrels. Obviously, some people buy it with their friends, but that is more of the kind of sector that we're focused on. And it is the type of clients that we tend to get. Little doggo there in the back. Yeah, it is the type of clients that we tend to get, and the ones that do go to Kentucky for that experience. It's just, I think we're focusing more, just because there's such a big number of tourists that go to Kentucky every year. That's something we're trying to delve more into. But we do have, I wouldn't say we don't do like crazy high-end tours for our customers. So we're not the kind of the helicopter flying in and all that kind of stuff. We do nice tours. Murray takes them around. They get to see their barrels and taste them. That's the more experiential side as opposed to the super luxury side of things. So we don't do, at least not yet, but we don't do like super high-end dinners and crazy things like that yet. That is a part we want to develop, but it just is the case that a barrel is a high entry point in terms of what you're paying. So it does,
So like we could go there as the trio from the Speakeasy.
Yep.
Pick out a barrel, and then it's being watched while it matures, and then
then
eventually sell it or gift it as the Speakeasy Heritage Radio bourbon or rye. Probably be rye.
I love this fantasy that the three of us are going to buy a barrel and then just give it away and not drink it ourselves.
Yeah, well,
yes.
Well, I think honestly, Damon's got a good sort of thought experiment for us to work through right here on the air. Let's assume that that's what we want to do. The three of us want to get a barrel.
Right.
We want to make it Speakeasy rye. You're saying it's $2,000 to $2,500 to get that barrel. And then how long is the wait for maturation? Walk us through the whole process from the customer's point of view.
Okay, sure. So I guess you get in touch, you book your call, you get in touch with one of our sales guys.
Oh no, we want you. You're our guy.
Okay. I suck at sales.
We don't call customer service here.
I'm like, don't buy this. Wait. I'm not great at this. My sales director guys, they're better. We're very strict on like not being like snake oil salesman-y, but anyway, so you'll come on, we'll give you basically the options we have at that moment. We've recently gotten into tequila barrels, which has been super fun as well, but we'll be like, okay, dueling grounds in Kentucky, I don't know if you know those guys, really small. We work with them buy barrels from, they can only do like 8 a month, but we buy barrels from them. That's pot still distilled. We've got Green River, Bardstown, run you through all the options, different mash bills that we have, weeded, high rye. We don't really do, we've not done much American single malt or rye yet. We are looking at it.
It's up and coming.
Yeah, we spoke to those ASM guys last week about doing something together with them.
We had them on the show.
But, oh yeah, my sales guy told me that you were doing stuff on single malt. But yeah, so it's mostly bourbon thus far. We give you all the mash bills, and yeah, you basically decide which distillery you like the most. Now, if it's a new fill, we usually recommend, I mean, you'll know that 4 years-ish will be a good point to bottle it, so it's, decent depending on where it is. If it's Texas, it might be faster, but it's, depending on the climate. Or we also have ready aged barrels for you to buy right away. That's something that we do. We have ready aged barrels for someone that wants to bottle right away. So say you own your barrel, you get we have a really state-of-the-art back-end portal. So it's like a client area where you can request samples, you can request a consultation, you can request a tour. It's we're very proud of our kind of automated technology in terms of how everything gets populated. And then, you wait, you get a sample a year. We're launching a marketplace now that we promise our clients that people can list their barrels. So it's client to client, basically. It's basically you can list your barrels in business. So I'd promised that when we started, and I was like, shit, I need to do this. No, it was always the plan, and we're launching it now. It's not so much like Hogshead where it's like businesses. It's more all our clients can list their barrels. We recommend the price, but if they want to do something crazy, that's up to them. But we recommend what's kind of happening in the market at that point. And then anybody, other clients or businesses that we're speaking to or whoever can go in and see these listings. Or again, then we get to the point where you want to bottle it. That's when we connect you to Murray, the E.H. Taylor guy I told you about. And he's got, massive just like cost for this, because you get people that want a simple bottle. Then you get people wax, dip, gold, whatever. Mm-hmm. But he's got very, very organized. We made a video of him explaining the whole process of how long the cola approval takes, how long packaging and bottling takes, how long it will take to kind of get to your state, all the time frames, all the information, all the costs associated with that. And yeah, then you move ahead. I separately also own like a marketing and branding agency, so we can help with all that kind of design stuff as well. Or a lot of our clients like to do it themselves, or own a restaurant that they have a designer or they do something.
I was thinking we'll just get those like postal stickers, at the little tag and slap on the,
Yeah. Little like, hello, my name is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Malbyenne, where they just have the green tape, But that's just fun too. I mean, like, there's also like Orange Swift has one where it's that old punch tape, the label maker before the Brother P Touch, but it was like embossed. I think it's like I can't remember what the Saldo I think is what it is, and it's just like a little piece. But obviously, it's like manufactured that way, but it looks like that, so it's pretty cool. So that's cool. I mean, like, so you're saying you've got like essentially the distillery equivalent of farm to table options for clients. So, and I come from that world of graphic design before I got into the bar industry. So, like for me, it's like it's really important. You can tell like when it's something modest, let's say modest, in like a Boston round, like 750 or whatever. And like it's a label printed on, print stock, Avery print stock on your HP LaserJet or whatever, which I think there's some charm to that. But then it's cool that you have like, well, especially like a lot of glassware production comes from Mexico. So you're close to that as well.
It's only just, I guess people don't go that nuts as they would in Scotch, because if you've got like a Macallan and it's like $2,000 a bottle, I've seen, the World Whiskey Society guys, it's just absolutely nuts. Bourbon, I think if you've got like a 4 to 6 year old bourbon barrel, I mean, you're only going to go that crazy in terms of packaging. You can't have that being more expensive than the actual liquid. So it's
sure.
We haven't encountered too much craziness.
So how many do you bottle in liters? 750, the client gets a choice, I'm sure, but like how many liters are we getting from a barrel that's at maturation and ready to bottle after this process happens? And
let's say it's 100 proof.
Well, yeah, I mean, a good example would be within Barrel Global, we have our own independent bottling brand. We just did like an MB Roland 4-year-old, which was like 207 bottles.
Right. That's what
It's like 2 to 250 usually. We had a Green River that was pretty low. Sadly, it was like 100, and I mean, it tastes amazing, but it was like,
And that's
we
a-
got like
That's a cask
160.
strength?
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because like we used to buy Willet barrels for Red Hook Rye, and we got the lowest was like 192, and the top was like 225. Barrel
yeah.
strengths. So
I'd say
not
240, 250, 2 to 250 is a good kind of number average that you'll get from the bottles. And yeah, I mean, one thing to mention also is that we don't sign any contracts with any distilleries that we don't have naming rights for. So it's none of it, like you can say where it's been distilled at the front of the label, which is something, we're really trying to get that independent bottling movement, the Scotch one that's growing in the US with like Lost Lantern and those guys. So we don't sign anything that doesn't have naming rights as well.
That's cool.
Okay, so this is cool because I was a little bit concerned when I sort of heard the pitch of this business that it would take, some of the cream of the crop of some of these distilleries and put them behind a very expensive paywall. And like I don't want to, I don't want to make myself out to be some sort of like humble working man. Like I like caviar. I like it getting upgraded to first class. So I know that we're already kind of talking about a luxury good, but it sounds like it's not so far outside of the reach of it's not like there was this thing that happened with Overholt a few years ago where they had this really great release. And I think the entire allocation for the state of Pennsylvania disappeared into this one guy's personal stash. Yeah. And like that shit annoys me. And it sounds like that's very much not the case. It's people will buy these things and then have a plan later on to put them back into the greater whiskey economy, essentially, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to lie and pretend we're not making money. It's a business. We add margins. Yeah. We add margins to these barrels. But the thing that we do is, I think it's the convenience that we give people. Because if you go to these distilleries, again, we buy like hundreds at a time. We can't just buy one. So we buy these, allowing other people to buy one, people that have always wanted to own something. We add our margins because honestly, we do have, I mean, I'm not going to sit and discuss and explain business to you, but overheads, we run a lot of marketing, a lot in all this process of running. So we do add our margins. However,
we're all business owners also.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So,
but if you want to explain business after the show, I could definitely use a few pointers.
We'll always take more advice.
Yeah. So, but I'm just not, I care about my reputation too much to be known as that guy who's just ripping people off. Because I've seen it happen numerous times. I've got other brands. I like my writing, my social media. I don't want people on there just like, people can be vicious in the whiskey industry. Mm-hmm. So we add our margins, but it's never at the point where it's going to make it impossible for anybody to do anything with it, or even near that point.
I mean, this sounds wildly democratic to me. Like $2 to $2.5 grand. You got 4 pals playing golf one day that could scratch this together and have this special thing that they can, as you said, either consume themselves or gift out, or if one of them owns a retail shop or a bar or whatever, they could sell it there. Like this doesn't seem out of reach. And I understand the mechanics of the business models. What you're saying is the average consumer can't go in and buy 100 barrels, but you can, and then you can offer 1 barrel to the average consumer.
Yeah.
Right.
And we make it easy for distilleries. So you've got all these small distilleries. They don't have the time or the infrastructure to do it. And they don't want to be dealing with like 100 people coming and showing up. And so like Stella Austin's a good example. They're awesome. They sell out a lot of stuff. Their bottles sell like that, but they don't maybe have the infrastructure to like start selling individual barrels to all these individuals that are going to show up. So it's kind of like helping people with that infrastructure to be able to do that, to request samples, to bring people on group tours, like at once. Like Frey Ranch is a good example. We're speaking to them, really love their stuff in Nevada, but they're just like, we're a working farm. We can't deal with this. We don't want people just showing up being like, hey, can I see my barrel? So I'm like, no. We structure all that. We keep all that communication. We put people in groups. We come once a quarter. We bring the people there. We request samples once a quarter. It's all very kind of organized, seamless, so that we don't need to disrupt the distillery's business as well. So it helps put them in front of a new type of clientele as well. Because I always 100%. Say, having a barrel is different to buying a bottle. Like if you own a barrel, you're a fan of that distillery. If you buy a bottle, you like it. I
mean, it all sounds quite symbiotic to me. It doesn't sound like a lecherous process in any way. It sounds like you've got a service that you're offering to both, I hate the term middleman, but you've got the service that you're offering to both your client and to the distillery themselves, right? This is something they wouldn't have done themselves, a revenue stream they may not have tapped into because they don't have the manpower or the bandwidth or the hours in the day to get it done. Like you've sort of stepped in and become that. Like personally, just a quick anecdote that lines this up for me. You know, I've been struggling a lot lately because I'm busy with so many projects, and I'm finally back to a place where I'm considering hiring an assistant, right? And when I had an assistant before and had to lose them during the pandemic because everything went to hell, when I had an assistant before, I realized pretty immediately having an assistant generated more revenue than it cost me to pay that assistant. So it sounds like you've sort of stepped in and plugged that hole, and you're, again, a service to both your clients and to the distilleries that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I mean, it's all great, but now is the point where, again, we really need to double down on bottling a lot of these casks. Because I mean, again, I've promised, and it's going pretty well. But you know, if these people want to resell their barrels, we need to start really building that avenue. And this year for me that's my focus. I'm speaking to like all kinds of businesses, hotel groups, restaurants. That's really the next step because I want to see these casks in bottle. You know, I want to see them, I want to see, you know, our clients be happy. And again, we've started exiting a lot of them, and they're happy with it. Everybody's been, you know. And again, it's just seeing everything that's happening again in Scotch with the BBC and all this. It's just, you know, we need to kind of deliver what we kind of promised from the beginning. And the only thing I think price wise is like now that people are stressing a little bit about bourbon and Scotch, seeing some really low prices, which I don't necessarily think is a good thing. Like I think if you want to sell like a rare bottle of bourbon, I mean, I understand, you know, it should be accessible, but I think there should be that part of the market that is old and rare and elevates the category. And I think if you're slashing your prices on a barrel, then how are you going to charge equal to a bottle? And I feel everybody's like freaking out and being like, you know, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Tariffs this, market this, you know, there's always that news going around. But we're not going to make any changes like that. I mean, I'm pretty confident in the service that we provide, the liquid that we provide. You know, we work with great distilleries. And yeah, I stand by like our price. I would never, you know, I don't think anybody could persuade me that we're charging anybody too much for the kind of service and everything we're providing.
I mean, I'm taking notes over here. I'm convinced. Boys, we're going to talk after this.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to bring this back to my partners as well.
We'll expect our barrel in the mail soon.
Yeah.
We get a lot of those. We get a lot of those calls. Like, can I have this shipped into my living room and tap it?
Yeah.
And what's the answer?
Yeah, what's the answer?
That's like, come and pick it up and do whatever you want with it. But we're not. I mean, if you buy it, I mean, you can't call it bourbon, but I don't think you really care if you're tapping it and you're living room. I mean, but if you buy it and you pick it up, like it's no longer my responsibility. You can do what you want with that barrel.
You can come pick up the boat, but there's no trailer.
Well, I want to end on a whimsical note here. Tell us a little bit about the Maltyverse. What is that, and just how's it work?
Damon loves a good pun. Let's get into the Maltyverse.
So good.
Yeah, it's just an idea came up when I was like trash drunk living in Asia,
where all of the best ideas start.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
And I started to remember I was on Instagram. I was at a party and I was just looking up like animators and like on Instagram, just hashtag Illustrator to find my partner, and I did find him that way. But basically, it's an idea I had of like this comic book world that is set in the future, and this big event happened called Angel's Greed. So, you know, it's all punny, you know, and it's a really bad group called like Droom, like the Drams of Doom, and there's this guy called Mr. Neat. He's the boss, and they steal like rare whiskey. So they destroyed a lot of the whiskey to make what existed rarer,
valuable,
and then they try and, you know, and there's this group, and they've got like generals within his agency, and they've all got like Japanese parts of, you know, it's pretty cool. And it's going to come out. But basically, so it's that, and then you've got the agency. It's called ABV, which is Agency of Barrel Vigilance, and they protect it.
Damon's in love with this already. Look at him.
This is so good.
So you've got this Agent W. He's one of them, but then you've got a lot of different ones, and that's kind of like the main range. So within the Maltyverse, there's going to be like, I want to go into a lot of different spirits categories, have different characters within those. The Agent series is going to be like the higher end. It comes with a printed comic book in the box. original story, and those are kind of higher end in price. Second one is called Maltyverse Scenes that we just launched because my artist was basically, dude, like, fuck off. I'm not drawing like 30 comic books a year or 40. I was like, all right. So I had to find less, like, that he needs to draw less, basically. So Scene is a bit cheaper, and that's like you scan the QR code, it's got the full story, but it's the scene is kind of depicted on the one label. Yeah. And then there's just a few different ranges that will just be, some will be more graphic novels, some will be full printed comic books, some will be more scannable things. Eventually my goal is to, again, work with venues to do write a story for that venue. So if we do I don't know, a really iconic location in New York that wants a single barrel, we can do a multiverse story within that hotel of something that happened at that point. And then, that's kind of my idea down the line. But yeah, I was just fun. And now it's kind of within Barrel Global. So because we get access to some really, really cool barrels from all these distilleries. So if we're buying this new fill, they'll be like, hey, we've got this, Law's Whiskey House just send me this crazy, Cabernet Sauvignon 8-year-old high rye bourbon that was just spectacular. Mm-hmm. I've got it here. Yeah, so we're getting offered some really cool things like that. So I figured it makes sense to focus more on single barrel bourbons as opposed. We did one Scotch, but I want to focus more on bourbon because we're getting some really good access. And there's the independent bottling movement's growing, I think, in American whiskey. And yes, it's just fun. I think this is just my other brands are great, but Maltyverse is just pure fun. Yeah. It's
I love. Well, first of all, that's excellent world building, right?
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And also, yeah, it's important. I think it's important to have some aspect of. I think all of us here are guilty of turning hobbies into professions, and it's nice to have some aspect of that where and this is just my candy. This is just the part where I get to amuse myself and my friends and my coworkers and just have a good time,
Yeah, there's good feelings in all the businesses, but when you write something and then my partner, the illustrator, comes back and he's and you're seeing visually what you thought, it's just, that's there's no feeling like that. And he's a legend. It's more the whole world is Samurai Jack vibes. You remember?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Love it. So that's always what I wanted, a kind of futuristic. Eventually, I'd love it to be a cartoon. Would be awesome.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that.
All those guys just getting drunk and watching this, give Rick and Morty a run for their money. But yeah, I think
it's also none of my bars have TVs in them, but if there's a TV and you in the bar, you could show it. Have a showing with the release, or pull one out or rent one or whatever. So I think it's cool, man, and it's great for social media too. They could post clips and stuff. It's I don't know. I want you to animate this. So
and I'm also imagining with Samurai Jack of because I know neither of your bars have TVs and A+ for that. But I just kind of like the idea of there'll be a secret speakeasy where you walk in and it's like a family room from the 1990s. There's a Sega Dreamcast there and a TV that weighs as much as a car and a really scratchy couch, and it's just kind of this on a continuous loop and then a little TV tray with some of the, I don't know. I'm just spitballing. These ideas are free, man.
Yeah. That's an idea though. When we're pitching the show, it's if any bar in the world has a screen, you can't really compete with what we're going to show. You can't be ooh, maybe you can not. This is a show that's literally about booze. That's fun.
Give me an idea. And this is documented in history. So if it ever happens, you heard it here first. You go into a fancy cocktail bar, beautiful decor, everything. And then the speakeasy part, Greg, I like your idea, but the speakeasy is just a fucking normal ass sports bar in the back, You're this reservation only. You
gotta creep. You gotta wear your jersey and creep past all the guys in armed garters and mustaches to get to the sports bar in the back.
It's the total opposite,
Yeah. Walking past caviar bumps and martinis to get your hot wings and
totally.
mozzarella sticks.
You're sliding by for sliders.
Yeah.
So we're all starting this company today, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, well, it starts with us buying a barrel,
Yeah.
which I'm totally. I mean, we're going to talk about this after we go off air, and maybe our Patreon people can
That's
tap into
what I
some
want
of
to talk
that.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, it's a rare occurrence, I think, on the show where we suddenly decide we want to strike up a business deal.
Yeah, I know.
So it seems like we're leaning that way already, George.
Well, we didn't even get
this
to
is
talk.
great information.
We also didn't
Yeah,
get
I
to
was
talk
worried.
so
I
much
was worried
about
about this. I was worried because I think the initial brief was like, "Oh, they're gonna like drill you on your business." I was like, "Okay, let's do this." But I guess it was like, the cat stuff that's going around.
Well, we didn't even get to talk much about the tequila side of things, right?
Yeah, we got a few minutes left. Let's tuck into that for a minute.
Yeah, not to compress the time just for tequila, but we'll just have to have you back on the show to talk more about that.
Exactly.
That's how that works. So but let's definitely talk about it.
Get you guys into Mexico, do the show here, tequila.
Yeah,
We've done it
love
before.
that.
Well, we did with Haka, but
nice.
for mezcal. But yeah, we'll definitely come down there. Don't threaten us with a good time, you know.
Yeah, really.
So, George, are you effectively doing a similar process with tequila? Is that what I'm understanding, or?
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. I mean, we went to a bunch of distilleries here, and a lot of them, it's a bit harder down here, just legally and just shadier. It's harder, but we got this amazing partner. They're called El Mexicano Distillery. It's the guys that used to own Cazadores, and then they sold that to Bacardi. It's like a 300 years tequila making family. And then they opened the El Mexicano. It's like this big hacienda, beautiful place up in Arandas in Jalisco. And yeah, we got chatting with them. It's not really, barrels aren't normal in the tequila industry. So they were just like, bring me the agave, bring me the empty wood, and I'll distill it. Whereas I'm more like, I just buy the barrel. So it took a while to figure out. But honestly, our pricing's great on it. I've spoken to a lot of distilleries that offer it to me higher than what we sell it to the end consumer. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So we sell them for like 3,500. It's a bit higher, but distilleries of the same level are offering them to me for like $4.5 grand. So it's like, it's a bit strange, but we managed to get this with our distillery partner. We do and we've again figured out all the bottling stuff. And I'm reaching out to like a lot of hospitality groups for that. Cause I mean, bourbon's great, but we're speaking about doing like Zuma's tequila, like the Riviera dining group in Miami that have Mila and Casanels. This is more of like seems like a high-end hospitality venue offering because, tequila is flying. And then we have the historic producer. Then we have another producer that can just make anything. Basically, we sent them a bottle of the coffee Patron and they duplicated it. They can do it's like Willy Wonka's factory of just whatever you want. That's going really well. Again, no one's really doing it. And it's, the industry's growing in tequila. Aged tequila, I think, is growing quite a lot. We had a nice webinar with our distillery partner, the owner, and we discussed a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I think tequila is honestly more of a global one. Like bourbon, we do a lot of in the US, but tequila, I feel I'm speaking to like my old contacts in Hong Kong and in, Japan and Dubai. And that's what's flying right now, it seems. So that's kind of one we started, I think, end of last year, and it's good. And the pricing's good. And again, it's just an easy partner to work with. But that did take like a year and a half to get all the licenses and everything in Mexico because I didn't pay them off. Bad move.
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought they said 3 months, but that's if you kind of, oil the machine a little bit more.
Sure.
It's a squeaky wheel. It needs the grease.
So for our listener who has now probably had their interest piqued in getting involved with you, how do they get in touch with you? Where does the process begin if a restaurant group or an individual wants to reach out and get a barrel or get several barrels, or point us in the right direction? This is the time to plug.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I guess it's easy as going on barrelglobal.com, and the first button you'll see there is just like request a call, and you'll jump on with, we've got like 4 really cool guys, sales guys. One of them is my business partner. But I mean, honestly, before that, I'd go on, like, look at our Trustpilot reviews, look at our videos, research a little bit. I mean, you can come on, but I always tell people to do a bit of due diligence before they come on.
Sure.
And see what's up. Because, there's a lot going on in that industry, and I think that's safe. But, I mean, I'm very happy with our reviews. I'm happy with kind of the image of the company. We don't hide anything, very transparent. When you go on, book a call, and then you can see everything you need to see.
The videos and everything you mentioned there are on the website as well.
So there's videos on the website. We've got our YouTube channel. Social media is just at Barrel Global on Instagram, barrelglobal.com. But yeah, everything's very YouTube. We've got all our kind of Castle and Key shoot we just did. We've got Still Austin. We did some cool videos with them, some Instagram stuff. We try and be like that. That it's all about, like, me being a writer is very much about just the storytelling and content. I feel for a company like this, working with so many cool different distilleries, there's so many fun stories to tell.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that, man. I mean, and that's kind of the thing I love about anybody who gets into business in here is they're just like, oh man, I got this thing that I really need to share with the world. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing it with us today, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, really got us excited. I think.
Absolutely.
Man, thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
I think we're all scheming. Like, I'm thinking about my bar.
Absolutely.
I'm sure Damon's thinking about Grand Army.
I'm thinking about lots of things right now,
I'm
man.
thinking about the speakeasy in general.
I'm thinking about my band. I'm thinking about
The band.
Coyotes whiskey, you know.
My sales guys are going to be proud of me.
You got it. You did well. But yeah, again, for those listeners who are wanting to check this out, make sure you do the research before you come to the dealership and just kick tires, because it sounds like they're very busy. So again, due diligence, right, George?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's for you more than anybody. You know, you want to be secure. I mean, a barrel investment is like a long, you're waiting a few years. So if you don't get that physical thing in your hand quick, it's better that you're super, super, happy and confident with the people that you're going into this with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Speakeasy. And that is going to do it for us this week. Be sure to tune in to HRN for plenty more great programs just like this one. And as always, if you want more of this great program, you can become a regular on our Patreon page, where you are going to get sponsor-free listening. You are going to get a free cocktail kit from all of our friends at Shaker and Spoon every single month. You are going to get a recipe from our guests. Today we have one that is actually... It's not, the cocktail isn't named after George's dog. George's dog is named after the cocktail, but become a regular on our Patreon, check it out, see what it is. And Souther, you've got something else cooking that you wanted to plug too, right?
I just wanted to mention, I didn't get to it in the banter at the top of the show, but this past week I was involved in the Bike Plant, which is the bicycle shop that literally shares a wall with my apartment here in Bed-Stuy. I made drinks for their annual fundraiser. These kids are all right. They have given away 42. They just turned 4 years old this past Monday. That was their birthday celebration and fundraiser. They've given away $42,000 in parts and labor in what they call their repair fund, community repair fund, for free to people who have bikes who need repair but they can't afford them. They either have them pay what they can or nothing at all. And so we raised, in conjunction with our friends at Misguided Spirits, I use their spirits to make the cocktails. We raised $7,000 in a one evening party. Just people in the community showing up and showing out to have some fun cocktails in the park and raise money for the Bike Plant, which is just a solo shop here in Brooklyn that's doing good stuff. And really proud of them, and just wanted to mention them on the show to let them know that we're all thinking about them. And if you're interested, they have a program where you can continually donate. You can be a subscriber and donate to their repair fund. It's on their website at bikeplant.com. And they have a spreadsheet that's live, and you can see where every single dollar goes. So it's completely transparent. It's pretty amazing. So thanks to Misguided Spirits for sponsoring that. And thanks again to the Bike Plant just for being great neighbors.
Yeah, I stopped by. They're nice people. They're nice people. And the Misguided Spirits drinks were pretty good. I had a lot of them for a cause.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, I did. I did. Not because I wanted to, but for charity.
That's right. Do good while being bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, be sure to tune in next week when our guest is going to be. Had this
somebody cool.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is going to be cool. Yeah, we have Meredith Mills Merritt from the original Southside RTD coming on. So going to talk to us about a Southside RTD, a cocktail that I was not expecting to see an RTD form. So excited to talk about that and where it's going. So be sure to tune in for that. But until next time, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.